Erik M. Conway, Merchants of Doubt: How a Handful of Scientists Obscured the Truth on Issues from Tobacco Smoke to Global Warming. Discover the intriguing tactics a handful of politically connected scientists employed in Merchants of Doubt, a book that sheds light on their efforts to obscure the truth on a wide range of issues. From the dangers of tobacco smoke to global warming, this summary highlights how these men used their influence and scientific backgrounds to confuse public opinion and challenge well-established facts. As you delve deeper, you'll uncover factors that enabled these individuals to foster doubt on some of the most critical issues of our time. Through instructive storytelling, the book reveals the strategies that the scientists employed to contradict scientific consensus and distort public perception.
The distortion of scientific debate. Prominent physicists Frederick Seitz and Fred Singer misled the public with distorted campaigns over 4 decades. Their political connections brought them into a network of right-wing institutions and corporations, including the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company. Seitz worked for the tobacco company as they funded biomedical research to generate evidence against those suing them. Singer co-authored an attack on the Environmental Protection Agency's position on secondhand smoke, claiming it was harmless and those who opposed it wanted to impose government regulation. The Tobacco Institute financed Singer's report through conservative think tanks. Seitz and astrophysicist Robert Jastrow also denied global warming in a report that garnered media attention but lacked original scientific research. The men consistently opposed scientific consensus on every issue they publicly addressed. Big Tobacco's scientific deception. In the mid-1900s, the tobacco industry hired scientists to undermine the link between smoking and cancer. Despite their own research linking the two, the industry spent millions to spread misinformation, creating the appearance of scientific legitimacy to defend their product. The strategy continued even as the truth about the addictiveness of nicotine emerged. Scientists, including Fred Seitz and colleagues, fought every new release of damning data, ultimately distorting their own findings. Federal authorities eventually found tobacco companies guilty of concealing the dangers of smoking. Seitz moved on to head a conservative think tank promoting science for better public policy. Weaponizing Science. In The Beginning or the End, Seitz, Jastrow and Teller joined forces with right-wing think tanks and corporations to challenge scientific evidence and promote an arms race with the USSR. Seeking an alternative view, they created Team B and cast the Soviet effort in the most alarming light possible. When Reagan was elected, he promoted the Star Wars defense system, offensive and defensive nuclear weapons orbiting the Earth. Renowned astronomer Carl Sagan produced a report debunking Star Wars false science and propaganda, which Seitz and his colleagues fought against using personal attacks and phony science. This set a model for their future ideological attacks, seeking to confuse people about both positions. The Politics of Environmental Science Denial. The book sheds light on how science has been weaponized in politics, focusing on the environmental issues of acid rain and the ozone layer. The author traces the history of environmentalism from its bipartisan roots to the Reagan administration's rejection of scientific evidence. Singer, a White House appointee, and Nirenberg, a Star Wars defender, delayed and altered a report to politicize scientific material, undercutting the impact of acid rain in delaying legislation. The media echoed doubt, as a successful strategy of sowing confusion that continues today. Environmental science denial will remain a critical issue. Ozone depletion and the battle against corporate interests. In the 1970s, it was discovered that chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, could damage the Earth's ozone layer, leaving humans vulnerable to harmful UV radiation. Despite scientific evidence establishing the link between CFCs and ozone depletion, industry groups launched a well-funded campaign to deny any connection. However, consumers started to voluntarily abandon CFC products, and the government banned all CFC emissions in 1979. Scientific deniers continued to push the conspiracy theory to acquire more funding for unnecessary research even after strict regulations were put in place. The ozone depletion story is a success story that proves the effectiveness of environmental regulations based on science. Doubting the cause of global warming. The Marshall Institute, led by Bill Nierenberg, Fred Seitz, and Robert Jastrow, denied the effects of CO2 emissions on climate change. Their claim was contradicted by a report of the Carbon Dioxide Assessment Committee authored and signed by individuals. Despite peer review, the contrarians' report gained credibility with the help of White House and the Wall Street Journal's support. In a time when the world was uniting, institutions like the Marshall Institute changed their focus from politics to environmentalism. Bill Nierenberg, one of the Institute's board members, was heading the Carbon Dioxide Assessment Committee at the National Academy of Science. Unable to reach a conclusion, the committee produced separate chapters authored by individuals, which resulted in chapters that were contradictory in nature. The reports written by the natural scientists were straightforward. No one challenged the basic claim that warming would occur with serious physical and biological effects. Meanwhile, Nierenberg's allies proposed hypotheses on the cause of warming, claiming it to be of short-term duration. A peer reviewer of the report, Alvin Weinberg, found the report seriously flawed in its underlying analysis and in its conclusions. The report lacked effective analysis because some committee members hoped to undermine the notion of CO2 as a greenhouse gas by cherry-picking data that suited their argument. The underlying message was that if CO2 emissions were increased, the Earth would indeed warm up. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, and the USSR's reign ended. Sensing an opportunity to shift their attention from politics, Nierenberg, Fred Seitz, and Robert Jastrow continued to deny the effects of CO2 emissions on climate change. They released a contrarians report that claimed that atmospheric warming had occurred primarily before 1940, indicating that it was not a product of increased industrialization and emissions. Unfortunately, their claim contradicted the report of the Carbon Dioxide Assessment Committee. Despite this, the elite support of the Wall Street Journal and the White House provided credibility to the Marshall Institute's unfounded claims.
Drawing from a comprehensive exploration of emergence of doubt, it becomes clear that a small group of influential scientists were able to create uncertainty on a myriad of pressing issues. The summary demonstrates the myriad ways this group skillfully cultivated doubt, not only concerning the hazards of tobacco smoke but also the reality of climate change, acid rain, and the ozone layer. Disturbingly, these scientists were rarely challenged until new waves of research eventually underlined their deception. By engaging with this compelling narrative, we gain a valuable understanding of the motives and strategies of the scientists involved, shedding light on the significance of their actions, the tactics they employed, and the broader implications for society. The book serves as a cautionary tale to remain vigilant against misinformation tactics and to always exercise critical thinking.